Miss Juba Alexander, and our guest today is Miss Aisha Turner. We're going to talk about today how to live a balanced life. And we know that life can be very stressful, very demanding. At the end of the day, sometimes we just worn out because we've had so much going on. And we often hear as we watch TV and different things that people talk about being rushed, a rush life. But God has called us to a life of balance. And I believe that we can achieve balance, but we just have to know how to get there. And so that's what we're going to discuss today. How do we get there? How do we get balance? And Juba, I know that you have a plate full. You have a husband. You're a full-time. You work full-time. You have 5 kids. You in the ministry. How do you balance your life?
The one thing that I had to learn, because I didn't know that I had a problem with balancing, one thing that I had to learn to do was prioritize. Because I was in a position where I worked like you said, I worked full-time in the ministry. And so all of these things that I was doing, it was good. I was in God's house and I was busy doing this and I was busy doing that. But in all of this busyness, kind of like, ooh, thank you, Holy Spirit, kind of remind me of Martha. You have Mary and Martha, and they're sitting up there, and then you're just busy. And that's what I was. And not only was I so busy, it really wasn't doing me a whole lot of good being so busy because my family was placed on the back burner. Okay. So I was, my thing with God, I was like, God, what is going on? Because, I'm like, this is a problem. I know I'm doing good stuff. I'm here in church, but the thing is my family was being neglected. And not only that, when things are out of balance, it starts creating other problems.
That's right.
And because I wasn't balanced and I didn't know about being, balanced, then it started affecting other things within my household.
Yeah.
Things that demanded my attention that I had neglected.
Okay.
So the first step to me to creating a balanced life is prioritizing. And right now, especially because I have so many children, or because I have a husband, because of all these things, my priority right now, because the kids are all different ages, right now my focus has to be on my children and my family more so than anything else right at this very moment.
Right.
But that can change tomorrow. Depends on what's going on.
Absolutely.
But pretty much it's my family. Right now I have to minister to my family. I have to take care of my household.
Yeah. Okay. And I do like what you said, Juba, about prioritizing, because as Christian women and being in ministry and part of ministry, a lot of times we've been taught that that's, the first and foremost thing in our life, because we so often associate just ministry with our relationship with God. Mm-hmm. And it is a part of our relationship with God, but at the same time, a lot of times our families get put on the back burner, as you were saying. And we take our children to church with us, and we're saying we're training them in the way that they should go, which is all good. But at the same time, our children have personal needs. They need things from us as their mother. They need us to pour into them. So, and we often hear stories, which I know I've had heard stories from adults that are now adults that were brought up in the ministry, and that was one of the main things. They said, my mom and dad was in ministry, but we didn't get a lot of quality time, and it really hurt their relationship. So first thing, we do have to prioritize, and I think that's good that you said that. Right now in your life, your family is your priority. And Aisha, I know you don't have children, and you're not married, and you're a single woman, but how do you get a balance in your life and the things that are going on in your life?
Well, right now, knowing what stage I am in life. And right now, I'm in my early 30s, and I'm a full-time student, and I have a full-time job. But previously, when, being a teenager and being in my 20s, balancing friends, balancing family, balancing just hanging out and just wanting to do my own thing, I used to be an avid book reader, and I used to take up a lot of my time in everything that I did. And I realized, even though I was entertaining myself and enjoying myself, I was putting other things on the back burner because of that. So right now, balancing for me has to do a lot with school, has to do a lot with friends, and has to do a lot with family. And what is the most important, and what can I live without, and what can't I live without. So right now, even with church, and God has called me to a higher place, you know, he's telling me it's time to step up and do things in ministry and do things to reach out. And with that comes responsibility,
Yes.
and knowing how to then balance that as well, because you don't never want to not do what God has called you to do,
Right.
because then you're definitely out of balance.
That's right.
So just staying within the will of God, knowing that as long as I'm within the will of God, that I am being balanced, knowing that as long as I keep my prayer life where it needs to be, because it all starts with prayer, and that's how I can hear God speak
Yes.
to me. And, you know, I ask God daily, what do you want me to do for you? Not necessarily, you know, we wake up sometimes and say, Lord, this is what I need, this is what I want,
Yes.
you know what's going on. But no, Lord, what can I do for you? Because if you take all the me time
Yes.
and just worry about me, worry about my family, worry about, it's like, okay, but it's a lot bigger than just us.
Yes.
So balancing that, it is constantly moving. You can't stay stagnant.
Yes.
You cannot stay stagnant in one place or another. And another thing I'm balancing now is my health. As I'm getting older, I'm realizing you can't eat the way you used to eat. You can't continue to not exercise. You can't continue to not take care of yourself the way you're supposed to as well. So before, I didn't worry about that as much. But now, that's a balancing act too, is finding time to do what I need to do to live a longer, healthier life.
That's great. You know, when we talk about being balanced, you know, sometimes we leave out a lot of important things in our life, and a lot of areas in our life. So we have to remember that God has called us to a life, and He has called us to many areas in our life, but we can balance them all. And what I like about it today, as we sit here together, we're all at different stages in our life. I can remember, Juba, when I was raising my kids, and I didn't have 5, God bless you. But I can remember raising my children, and that was a balancing act. And when you're newly married and you got a family, you got kids, and you have their school, and you're trying to make sure they're getting educated properly. And sometimes we do have to go out in the workforce and work full time. So it is a balance. You know, you have to find that balance, and you have to find that priorities. I can remember being in your stage of life when, you know, we just young and we think we just got the world by the shoulders, and, you know, we got time, we're going to live forever. But now I'm at the age, my children are adults. They all are adults now. I'm a grandmom now. My husband and I have been married for many years now, but we're at a different stage in our life. I like what Aisha, when she talked about the health. Because, you know, when you're young, you don't think about health. And one thing I've learned, that if you're unhealthy, you're unbalanced. And when you're unhealthy, you can't achieve the things that God has put for you to do. You can't be a good mother if you're unhealthy.
Right.
You can't be a good employee because you're missing time from work.
Absolutely.
You can't minister effectively because you're not you're not healthy. If you're trying to preach the word and you can't breathe, you know, somebody might think you full of the Spirit and you about to pass out.
Absolutely.
So we have to learn how to balance. I like what you said, Aisha, about, you know, exercise. Because I've declared this year that I'm going to do something about my health and my weight. And I found out that that's one thing I was praying about, because I've committed to going to the gym. But now it's so easily to get distracted. And that's what I want to talk about. When you're trying to get that balance, but then you have distractions. How do you stay focused and not get distracted? When you have a priority, how do you keep that focus?
I think the distractions are gonna come. Anytime you are doing anything that you know is what God has for you, the distractions are gonna be there. So what you can do is, just like Aisha said, you stay prayed up. You stay prayed up. You stay prayed up so that you are always alert, and when you come across that distraction, you know, that ain't nothing but a distraction.
All right.
I'm not even going to go there with that. But you know what, though, Pam, one of the things that concerns me is only because I was at a place where I did not realize that I had a problem with balancing. And I know that if I was like that, there are many, many, many other people that are out here too that don't realize that they're not balanced in their lives. So what I would like us to do is to be able to just maybe give some people some ideas as to, hey, if X, Y, and Z is happening, then you might have a balancing problem.
That's right.
Okay?
Yes.
So maybe when we come back for part 2, we can go ahead and we can discuss that.
Absolutely.
How about that?
Absolutely. So, you know, So, you know, and that's what we want to do, because we've all been there. And at times, we're not saying that we're perfect and that we live a perfectly balanced life 365 days a year. We do have our problems. We do get distracted. So we're going to give you some tips that we've learned to help us when we get off balance, to get ourselves back on balance. And I hope you would join us for part 2 of living a balanced life. Thank you again for joining Real Women, Real Talk.